Good morning, everyone. We're going to start a new lesson with Photopea. So you're going to open up Photopea and we're going to work with some shapes. So we're going to open up our screen. Just a quick reminder, this is your toolbar on the left, and at the bottom you have your colors. If you press the letter D for default, you set the colors back to black and white. If you ever want to switch your foreground and background colors, you can press X back and forth. Okay, that's just a cool trick. What I'd like you to do is make a new document, File, New, and we're going to call it Shapes. And you're going to make it inches, and we're going to make it 12 inches wide by 9 inches in height. And we're going to say create. Okay? When the screen shows up and it looks kind of small like that, you can zoom in on it and make it bigger. See the zoom tool here at the bottom? Okay? If you ever wanted to make something smaller, you could go up here, because once you grab a tool, at the top there are the options. So here's the zoom. We increase the size. If I wanted to decrease it, I could go here. Okay? All right. So that's one way. There's always more than one way. What I'd like you to do is fill the background with a gradient. The keyboard shortcut to get to a gradient is the letter G for gradient. This is your gradient tool. There are different kinds of gradients, and you can find all the information up here in the options bar. Anytime you have a new tool, there's going to be the different options for that particular tool. So I'd like you to change the color. So I just click here on the color, and it's choosing the foreground and background color. So this is the gradient editor, and I want to change it to some more fun colors. So I'm going to double click on this little box here, pick a color that I like. Feeling the teal, and say okay. And it can go from teal to white, or I can click on the other side and choose a color, and it can go like that, from color to color. And there's all these different things you can play around with, all these different things you can change. I'm going to say okay. Then there's different kinds. There's linear, radial, angle, reflected, and diamond. These are all different kinds of gradients. So you can experiment with those. So if I take the linear gradient, I'm on the gradient tool, and I click and drag, and I'm on an angle, the gradient's going to go that way. Okay? So that's my background. You pick whatever you want. If you don't like something, you can undo it, Control Z or Command Z. You could change the color. Again, double click here, double click the little box here. Now I have it in reverse. Okay, so it's up to you how you want to do it. You're going to fill in your background with a gradient. If you wanted to see how the other gradients looked, there's a radial, that's a little rounder. Angle, I don't care for that, but we're going to stick with linear. So you fill your background with a gradient. Then you guys are going to experiment with shape tools. The shapes are here. The keyboard shortcut is the letter U to get to the shapes. We're going to try every one of these shapes, and then you're going to go into custom shape tools. So you're going to go to rectangle, and you click and drag, and watch what happens. It makes a whole new layer called a shape. It filled it with this bright red, which I'm not loving. So I can go up here to the options bar. I'm going to change the fill to a color that I like. Again, that's too bold, so you're not stuck with just these colors. When you see this little box, you double click on it, it brings up the color picker, and then you can pick something a little lighter, right? So you kind of get how this is going. Say okay. Now there's an outline. The outline is called stroke. When you see this, or it says stroke and there's an X in it, it means it's empty. Or you could fill it with solid color, or you could fill it with a gradient, or you could fill it with a pattern, and you guys will experiment with that. So again, I can pick a color, I can pick a darker green to go around the green I have. And I can change the size of it, the stroke. I can even change the location of the stroke, or if I want the stroke to be rounded edges, if I want it on the outside of the picture, or the shape, or the inside of the shape. So there's all these things you can experiment with. So what I'd like you guys to do is to start making a background, new document that's going to be 12 inches wide by 9 inches tall. You're going to call it Shapes. Then you're going to play with every one of these shapes, right? But I don't want the same color in every one, so I'm going to change it and find the color. I like that. Find the colors I like. Go to the stroke, change that. Find colors you like. Okay. And work with each one of these shapes at different size. When you get to the bottom, you're going to go to the Custom Shape tool. Custom Shape tool will allow you to find all these additional shapes, and you can play with those. So let's start with that, and we'll see how you do.